used to be really good at selling engagement rings. I worked at a high-end luxury retailer for years, and my close rate was about 90%. So that meant that 9 out of 10 people who sat down with me, they bought an engagement ring from me. I'm saying that because that close rate that I had, that 90% close rate, wasn't just about being helpful, it was about a system. There is a very deliberate, well-designed system for sales within the jewelry industry, especially for engagement rings. Most buyers, they don't even know that this system exists. Now, before I sold my first engagement ring, I had to learn the system. I had to be trained. I had to learn product knowledge. I had to learn the anatomy of jewelry. I had to understand how diamonds are formed, all of the different specs that go into a diamond, how to teach it, and all of the terminology that goes into engagement rings. Now, that part is definitely expected. I think that most people that go jewelry shopping and go shopping for an engagement ring, they expect that the person in front of them knows what they're talking about, at least at a very basic level, that all of that terminology and understanding about diamonds and rings and, all of that stuff, that they're at least enough of an expert to be able to provide information and help the person in front of them. The real training for me was about objection handling. In any sales experience, there is a level of objection that is expected and trained for. Within luxury sales, objections aren't surprises. They're something that's expected, they're studied, they're prepared for. One of the biggest objections that we're trained for within the luxury industry is specifically with price objections, like I want to think about it, I might buy this online, I just need to go talk to my spouse. Every one of those has a practice standardized response. I'm saying this because this wasn't unique to where I worked. This is standard across the jewelry industry, and it's really standardized across luxury as a whole. The biggest part in learning on how to handle these objections and with training to become an engagement ring salesperson or consultant was for a diamond consult. Where I worked, it was called a diamond lesson. I've seen it called a diamond lesson across multiple locations and stores and different retailers. Sometimes it's a diamond consult, sometimes it's an engagement ring consult. But that initial meeting that you have with somebody is almost the creme de la creme, the biggest part of learning how to handle objections and learning how a particular retailer or store wants you to handle certain situations. Almost any serious consultation within this industry starts here. It starts at that initial conversation, a private consult. Well, you will sit down with a consultant or a salesperson or a designer or somebody who is going to teach you things so that you can move forward and really make an informed decision before you purchase. On the surface of this consult, on the surface of this first meeting, it really does feel like education. You get a private walkthrough of the 4 C's, cut, color, clarity, and carat. They teach you, all about them. They teach you about different clarity characteristics. They teach you about how carat is a measurement of weight, not necessarily size. They teach you the different color grades. They teach you all of the things that go into the decision that you need to make to, purchase a diamond. The information in that consult isn't wrong, but it's how it's presented. That presentation and the way that things are taught is strategic. It was designed to be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of information about diamonds and a lot of things that go into grading a diamond. And so while diamonds are not impossible to learn about, there can be a lot of things that go into it, and making it feel a little bit overwhelming, it creates this feeling within the person sitting in front of you with the buyer, so that you stop trusting your own judgment. It's a way for you to rely on the person in front of you. And again, That's not entirely untrue, but the goal of that consult, that diamond lesson, isn't purely to inform. The goal was to make buying a loan feel dangerous and to make buying from the person sitting in front of you feel safe. So there's really two purposes, two reasons why you would start a sales conversation with a potential engagement ring buyer with this one-on-one consult or private conversation. So first, it builds genuine knowledge, and that increases confidence in the person sitting in front of you. But more importantly, from a sales context, it creates this controlled overwhelm. So a buyer who feels like this category, like diamonds and engagement rings, are too complicated and too complex to navigate alone, they are far more likely to trust the person in front of you. They're more likely to trust the perceived expert. And they're a lot less likely to walk away. They're less likely to go search online and buy something from, an online retailer, or buy something from another store or retailer or jeweler who didn't provide this context. They're going to see that person sitting in front of them as the person to trust because they gave them all this information. They pulled back the curtain and showed them how diamonds really are, and it really makes them feel like the person in front of them is protecting them. I do want to be clear that most of the people that I've worked with genuinely cared about their clients. And that's actually what makes it really, really hard to see from the outside. So I'm not telling you this because I think that all jewelers are villains. A great sales experience makes you feel heard. It makes you feel comfortable, and it makes you feel taken care of. But there is a real difference between that great sales experience and independent advice, even when the person delivering it means well. And next time I'm going to talk about what actually affects your wallet directly, the markup reality that a lot of buyers aren't aware of. And if you want a full breakdown of what most buyers get wrong in this situation, there's a link in the description to a blog where I go through absolutely everything.